continue learning about one of our favourite subjects, yarn. Let's talk ply. To make the yarn you behold, a number of ply are spun together. Thin or thick, all can be used to make some amazing projects. Originally, yarn weight was named thusly, by the number of ply spun to make up the desired weight. Example of this is a 4-ply. These days, yarns are made to work to a certain tension. We'll get to that. As you might guess, the less plies used to make the yarn, the thinner it is. Here is a table that might help. Of course, pause the video to look closer if you wish. Taking a hold of the right hook for the chosen yarn, any weight of yarn can be made into pretty much anything you desire. Just because a yarn specifically states it's for knitting or to make a rug doesn't mean that is your limit. Though traditionally crochet yarn tended to be on the thinner side and more often than not was cotton or linen, these would produce more intricate stitches, making a lacy fabric. You can still buy this more traditional crochet cotton, usually wound around a cardboard tube, and depending on the thickness, comes in 20 gram or 50 grams. These yarns are named via a number rather than amount of ply. The numbers can range from 5 to 100. The higher the number, the finer the thread. Here is a chart. Now this shows the thread size with its ideal partner hook size. Choosing your yarn. So going into a dedicated yarn shop, an aisle in the right supermarket, onto a website, you could easily get overwhelmed with choices. Fibres, weights, colours, textures, shapes, lengths. No one could blame you for playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo and still ending up with the wrong thing for your desired project. What are you hoping to make? Who will you give it to? A summer shawl for a more mature person would need a far softer, drapier yarn than, say, a kitchen tea towel, which would need something more hard-wearing. Consider how it needs to be cared for, i.e. washed, and think of the recipient also. A great place to start, apart from remembering to breathe, is the ball band. The ball band tells you everything you need to know, from the fibre content to washing instructions. The tension, we'll talk about that in another episode, as that's kind of more for knitters than crocheters. The biggest, most central info will be the company logo and the actual name of the yarn, and also its weight. The most common ball weights are 50 grams, 100 grams and 200 grams. The colour will be generally stated along with the dye lot, and if you need multiple amounts for a project, ensure you grab all from the same dye lot. That will ensure the shade or tone consistency. The washing instructions can seem daunting, and despite knowing them, it's still recommended to do a test wash, maybe with your gauge swatch, possibly. But take a look, pause the video and familiarise yourself with the main symbols if you wish. Let's face it, unless you study properly, you're not going to know all the symbols. So just have a look at the ones that you're most in need of. Also, on most bands, it will state the size needles or hook that is recommended. Now, this isn't a necessity, as we've established before, more of a suggestion. Different yarns are presented differently too. Donuts, cakes. Okay, we're not going to be eating them. This isn't edible fibre, but it's still tasty. And balls are designed with a centre pull to keep the ball band in place, thus holding the yarn together and not having it unravel. Drape needs to be considered for your project. Think about the feel of the finished item too. Solid and stiff would be highly uncomfortable for a wearable, but perfect for toys and most household items. So think about the yarn behaviour, you need to see the previous episode for that one, before buying. Just because something looks nice to you doesn't mean it'd work for its intended project. Maybe you've chosen to make a light poncho. Note what fibres the designer has used. Maybe they used a mercerised cotton or a bulky wool blend, depending on the season. Bear this in mind when choosing your yarn. Make a gauge swatch, check if the intended stitch is right, change hook size as needed as longer stitches equal more drape. And lastly, ensure you buy enough yarn to complete your desired item. Now, enjoy, and until next time, happy shopping. Bye bye.